Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is MFSN's Thursday weekly fantasy football strategy show. There's a great game tonight. And fortunately for us, the Bengals are playing, and we have one of the foremost Bengals experts in the world, Ross the Boss, joining us. Ross, how you doing, buddy?
Yep, it's a make or break game for the Bengals tonight. If they win, they'll be 500. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs. Must win for Joe Burrow. Expect 350 yards, 3 touchdown passes, and the Bengals will beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore to move on to the next
Wow,
game
spoken
next
like a
week.
true hooday.
I have no choice.
I know you got to root for him. Hey, I'm a Giants fan. I wish I could say anything remotely close to that. I'm
But
worried we can't beat the Carolina Panthers in Munich this week.
Oh,
So
what a horrible place to play. Well, who schedules these games for these teams to travel to Germany in the middle of the season? That's like a horror show.
I
But
don't
the
know.
Bengals line, it's 52 points over or under, which is a lot of points in football.
Yeah, but
Which
you have to
means,
remember they scored 79 points combined their
yeah.
first
So
game.
what I'm trying to tell you, everybody, is if you have players on either the Bengals or Baltimore, make sure you start them because it's going to be high scoring tonight.
I do worry about the Bengals a little bit because obviously T. Higgins and Orlando Brown, that might be the bigger one. Their offensive tackle is out. That Joe Burrow's not going to have a lot of time to make plays downfield to Jamar Chase. It's going to have to be a lot of quick stuff. I think tonight is another Mike Gesicki game, the tight end out of Penn
Yeah,
State.
you got to remember, and I'll remind you of this: the Baltimore defense isn't the days of Ray Lewis and
Oh no, but I'm saying
those days are over. Baltimore, their defense isn't that great. It's not.
It's not, but their
Everybody thinks
pass
it's
rush
like, oh,
is decent.
their linebacker queen left to Pittsburgh. I mean, they have a lot of holes in their defense, and it's going to be showing tonight with the Bengals offense, and you'll be seeing Joey Silk throwing the ball, slinging the ball throughout the whole game.
I hope you're right.
Slinging. It's going to be great. So let's talk fantasy football. Chasey, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the biggest story I think of this week is our cover boy, right? Christian McCaffrey, the unanimous number one pick in fantasy football in almost every type of format there was this season. And he hasn't played a single snap in the first 9 weeks. So those people who used their first pick, and as with most people who do a traditional snake draft, didn't get to pick again until the 24th pick or even later in 12 and 14 team leagues. Like, you've been dealing with a serious handicap. How much of a difference, in your opinion, can McCaffrey make at the end of this season?
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, if he's healthy, he say he has no pain in his Achilles. So I mean, I believe he's ready to go. I think, but again, as I mentioned before, the 49ers giving information out is probably the worst organization in the NFL. So we won't hear anything from Shannon's. They're not give us anything. They're not going to tell us who's playing, who's starting, nothing from the 49ers. So if he's playing, he's a like you said, he's the cover boy for a reason. He's a guy that's going to change your season around if he's healthy. And if he gets the carries and he'll score touchdowns. I mean, this guy's the real deal. I mean, there's a reason why he went first.
Yeah, and I mean, Tampa Bay has not been the strongest defense, so he comes back in a good experience. Now they're pretty good against the run. Nobody really wants to go up against Vita Vea in the trenches. I don't think McCaffrey wants the first tackle, the first ball. They might still use Jordan Mason some, but I think you'll see 6 or 7 targets probably for McCaffrey, especially with Ayuk out and how porous the Tampa Bay defense has been against the pass.
No, it's going to be a high-scoring game, and the Niners' defense isn't that great either. We'll see Mayfield and and Brock Montana go at it back and forth. It's going to be a high-scoring game.
So, we're coming into week 10. So the fantasy playoffs are 4, 5, or 6 weeks away, depending on how your league is set up, how many teams are in it, what the playoff structure is. What are the most important things to be addressing with regards to your roster now? And obviously, to anybody listening out there, if you're listening live, feel free to send us any questions you may have about start sits, trades, drops, waiver wire bids, any of that stuff. We're happy to help out, because now is when you start preparing your roster. You want to put it together so it's as strong as it can be starting in week 14. This is kind of one of the first weeks to start looking at that long term.
I mean, I think the most important thing you got to look at right now is bye weeks. I mean, a lot of teams had some buys, a lot of teams haven't.
Yeah.
And if your team has your quarterback on a bye week and you only have one quarterback on your roster, you better pick up another quarterback, because you gotta stay focused. You know, your team has to be competitive every week. You just can't give a week up because you don't have a quarterback. I mean, so you have to fill roster spots according to your needs. And then another thing is our handcuffs. I mean, we talked handcuffs from day one, and it's important to have, like, let's say Aaron Jones. Okay. He's the guy in Minnesota. He's the main running back. He is. I'm not saying he's not, but if he goes down, you better have Ty Chandler. So, I mean, you better have these handcuffs in Benson in Arizona. I mean, all these guys, a lot of them are on the roster. A lot of them are available. And if you don't pick them up now and one of your star players goes down and you don't have the guy to replace them, that can ruin your whole season. You know, or it can make your season if you can take a handcuff from somebody else and put them on your roster. Let's say a Benson for Arizona and Connor goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Or Corum for the Rams. I mean, so if you have the spots on your roster to fill, it just depends how big of a roster you have. It's important that you do fill your roster spots with some of these handcuffs. I mean, you got to do it. I know they're not having any points right now. I get it. I mean, they're just sitting there. You're not going to start them unless the starter gets hurt. But it's something that you just got to. It's a mindset you have to have. And like the shirt I have, you know, warrior mindset. You know, that's what you got to have when you play fantasy football. You got to have that warrior mindset. There you go.
So here's a question from Mondo 9969. Hello, Mondo. Thank you. Should I trade Kupp, ETN, Shaheed, my first and second round picks for McCaffrey, Gesicki, Mooney, a fourth and a fifth? This is a dynasty league, obviously, because Shaheed is out for the season.
So Kupp, I love, but Kupp is 30 plus years in age. He's not a young guy. ETN practically lost his job, right, Case? I mean, he's not going to get the ball much anymore this season. I mean, he'll be watching it from the sidelines. Shaheed, I know you love Shaheed, so you can talk about him. And the first,
but he's out for the year. I mean,
and first from McCaffrey, so you're basically trading not the farm, but a lot of stuff from McCaffrey. I mean, Gesicki's not going to stay hot forever. I mean, when Higgins comes back, Gesicki's going to go down to earth.
This is dynasty, though. I think he's thinking maybe next year.
I know. I'm just talking out loud. I mean, Gesicki means nothing, but Mooney for fourth and fifth. So you basically trading to McCaffrey. I like it. I like getting McCaffrey. That's me. Casey, what do you think?
I'm sorry, Mondo. Ross and I are gonna come down on different sides of this. Here's my thinking in dynasty. McCaffrey, how old is he? He's got to be approaching 30, doesn't he?
It's like so funny. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Logan's Run, but at Logan's Run, when you turn 30, you're basically
he turns 29 next year.
29, so he's 28 years old. Next year is 29.
He's never been a picture of health.
Never. I said that from day one.
You know,
but remember, Kupp has been hurt too. It's not like a one-way
Kupp has been hurt, and he's older. Yeah, but ETN's
out of the picture. Bixby,
no,
wake up.
ETN's still the pass catching back. I don't agree with you. I think they tried to show Bigsby. Bigsby's a more talented runner between the tackles. I don't think ETN. I don't think he's a lost cause there. I don't know. I have a hard time in dynasty giving up my first and second round.
That's the thing. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say those first and second round guys.
Look, what you're doing if you do this trade, and I get it. If you think you can win this year and it means that much to you to win this year, then you take that trade, because you're getting, other than the Kupp via Mooney comparison, Kupp is a better wide receiver than Darnell Mooney, although Mooney's been good. You're getting the better end of both other players. So if it's a win now trade, it's a smart trade. If you aren't sure you can win this year, or you're a long shot to win even after this trade, I probably wouldn't do it because I think you're going to regret it. Maybe not next year, but certainly 2 years.
But Casey, the whole thing with this trade is, listen, he gets McCaffrey, right? McCaffrey goes off the next 8 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, and he can carry you to a championship. And
and then during the offseason or next season, you can trade McCaffrey away and get full value for him.
Maybe. I mean, you can. Ross is always playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. I have a hard time giving up a first and a second. Maybe since it's dynasty, what I would prefer to do is give up my first this year and then maybe my second the following year.
There you go.
So that you still have a top 20 player coming out of the draft next year.
Love it.
But that's just me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't give first and second. I would give maybe second and third and separate the years. There you go.
I don't think you'd get it done without a first, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, TS has a question.
Bengals question. I get the answer.
Yep. Does he start Gesicki tonight against the Ravens or Pitts against New Orleans?
So Gesicki's the start. Higgins is not playing. Higgins, the 6'5" receiver that can catch anything, which would probably win the Bengals the Super Bowl if they decided to throw to him, which they didn't, which I'm still mad about because Higgins can catch anything. Is not playing. Gesicki is going to be their number 2 receiver. Chase is 1. Gesicki had over 100 yards last week. Baltimore's defense, as I said before, it's not the same defense that they've had in the past. There's no Ray Lewis coming out. There's no Ed Reed walking out right now. Their defense is banged up. They're going to give up a lot of points, and that's why you take Gesicki. And Pitts has been just awful in fantasy ever since he started as a rookie.
Okay. I agree with him. I think Gesicki's the play. I think it's also a game script thing. New Orleans is going out there with 0 weapons, a new coach. They might not put up a lot of points. You could see them get up early and see even like Michael Penix get some playing time in the fourth quarter. They might be to that point, or Tyler Algier just getting handoffs between the tackles. It might not be a Pitts game at all. And Gesicki, when T. Higgins is out, is almost a guarantee of 5 for 50 and possibly a touchdown. So, all right, he has another question. James Conner or Devonta Smith in the flex PPR? I'll take the first crack at this one. Devonta Smith was limited at practice with a soft tissue injury, and they're mentioning it might be his hamstring. That worries me. AJ Brown is back, so that's certainly also, I guess, in some ways worrisome. So the Cardinals, the Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Cowboys. Cooper Rush is the quarterback for the Cowboys. They're not going to score a lot of points. Saquon Barkley is the running back for the Eagles. He's going to get a lot of the work, I think. You could see Goddard get some play. I'd probably go with Connor against the Jets. Murray hasn't been great, so I think they're going to game plan more for trying to run the ball, and I think you see Connor have a pretty good game. What do you think?
I like Connor. He'll get 15 to 20 attempts in rushing, and he'll probably get a touchdown. Devontae Smith is like a graph that goes up and down, up and down. He'll have 0 points one week and 20 points the next week. It's unpredictable. Just go with Connor.
Yeah, I think so too. Derek Buck asks, are we concerned with Chase Brown's workload with Herbert in the picture? What do you think? I'll let you go. You're the expert in the
Well, it's the first week. He's the first week in camp. So, I mean, he's basically practiced with the team 4 days at most.
Okay.
Chase Brown was a monster last week. He'll get some handoffs. He's going to take Moss's, load, but I don't think he'll get that big of a load the first week he's there. So I still think Chase Brown will get between 15 and 18 attempts in rushing, which is good. And he's also a pass catcher. He'll catch the ball. I mean, he'll have 30, 40 yards receiving. I mean, tonight, you'll see Joey Silk throw for 300 yards. I mean, he's going to go nuts tonight. The Bengals have to win. If they don't win, they're done. I mean, this is like the biggest game for the Bengals for the year. And remember, this is the same game when Joey got hurt last year. I mean, this is the same. It happened around the same time. So NFL did this on purpose. It wasn't like on accident when they're playing. They're playing tonight because this is when Joey Silk got hurt. So all the script is all reading for Joey Silk. So I'm just telling you, Chase Brown's going to have a good night, not a great night, but I think he'll have a good night. I think Jamar Chase will be the big hero tonight for the Bengals.
I totally agree that it's going to be more of an aerial attack than anything tonight.
Yeah,
great. Good game Herbert is brought in to be Zach Moss now that Zach Moss is out. And at the time he got hurt, Chase Brown had taken over, I think, the primary role. Somewhere about 60-40 was the split.
Yep.
And Zach Moss but the reason they didn't trust Chase, the reason they wanted to get a backup for Chase is because A, he's never had a full workload, and B, from what I've read, he wasn't the greatest in pass protection and on those and in those games, whereas Zach Moss excelled at that, and Herbert is somebody who's very well known as being a good pass blocking running back. So I think this week you probably don't have to worry. He's not going to get in that much. He hasn't had time to absorb much of the playbook to understand the pass blocking schemes and all that stuff, and even the play calling. But moving forward, yeah, I think he's going to, what did Chase have 27 touches last week? That's never going to, I don't think that'll happen again.
You got to say Chase Brown because there's Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Chase Brown had like 27 touches. I think what you'll see is between 15 and 18 is what they want to keep Chase Brown at, and probably 10 touches for Khalil Herbert, something like that.
Maybe 5.
So Ross, what are your issues with these European games?
I hate them. I hate anything outside of the United States. I think it's just a complete waste of time. I think it's bad for the season ticket holders. They lose the game. I think it's bad for just the timing of the game and the traveling these guys have to do to go all the way to Germany from the United States. I mean, these guys are big dudes. I mean, and a lot of them are banged up. I mean, I know what it feels like to be sore. And if you're flying in the airplane for 8-9 hours to Germany, I mean, that's a long time to sit in the seat. I mean, it really takes a lot out of you. It really does. I'm just not making excuses when guys don't play well when they play overseas. I hate it. I just think it's a whole money thing for the NFL. I get what they're doing. But I even hate when they play Mexico. I just like preseason, do what you want. Go to Antarctica. I don't care where you play preseason. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But if during the season they're going to Germany, seriously? I mean, it's like, what are you thinking of? I mean, it's just a waste of time. It just makes me nuts.
Yeah, I understand what they're trying to do, obviously, and keep the brand as global as they can during the heart of the season. And they sell out like crazy if you ever see those European stadiums, when you watch the game, they're packed.
I see them. I see them waving their signs and wearing their jerseys. I've seen it.
All right. Derek has another question. Waddle.
Do the Waddle. Thank you, Case.
Leggett.
Xavier Leggett, who I like a lot, but
or Juwan Jennings need one for this week.
First of all, is Jennings for sure playing? That's my question.
Juwan Jennings has been practicing. Let me double check.
I mean, I love Waddle, but he's just been so inconsistent, and I can't trust any Carolina player. So throw Leggett out, right, Case? We're throwing him out. So now
it's especially because after you just talked about the trip to Germany. So not only is he getting thrown to by Bryce Young and a bad team, but he's got to go to Germany to do it.
And San Francisco plays who this weekend? Who are they playing? They play a good team.
Who? Who are you talking about?
San Francisco play this weekend?
They play Tampa Bay, so it's going to be a throw. To me, it's Jennings, and it's not even close. If Jennings is playing, I
was going to say Jennings. For some reason, I just love Waddle. I just think he gets in the touchdown. He scored a touchdown last week. I think Tua's I think comfortable now. Who's Miami playing? Well. Tell me where Miami's at.
Miami is playing the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles.
Ooh. I'll take Jennings too. I agree with you. How about that?
Yeah, I think for me it would go Jennings, and then Waddle and Leggett are kind of the same for me. I don't know.
Leggett's not even on the same atmosphere.
So Elias, how's it going, guys? I made a trade today, and everyone calling for a veto when I think it shouldn't be.
I love what they veto. Just so you know, Elias, I've been there many times. Vetoes, trust me.
Let's before I even answer the question, let's talk about vetoes. I hate vetoes in trades in in any fantasy sport, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because unless you can prove collusion, the other person, the people who are vetoing it are just jealous that they didn't see how somebody misvalued their own players before they did. They just are mad that they didn't see it first and take advantage of it, because every one of those players would have then said, but I would have given you this, 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 and this. And my response is, then you should have offered it. You should have asked. You should have sought it out. So he wants to know if we should veto this. Obviously, my answer is going to be no, but let's see what the trade is.
No, I'll be the judge. How about that? Because you're already biased.
So it is Jonathan Brooks,
hasn't played it down yet. Tank Dell, who supposedly Collins is coming back, right? Nico's coming back this week. Is that correct? Nico's practicing, has no pain.
Nico has not. He's cleared to come back, but they haven't seen him at practice yet. If he comes back,
so Brooks and Dell and Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. for McCaffrey and Mike Evans.
Ooh, so Evans comes back when? This week? 10?
I don't know. That's the question.
That's what I read. Week 10. So he's back this
I don't
week.
think he's back this week. They're not saying he's coming back this week. So obviously, if this is a redraft league, the CMC Evans trade, the CMC Evans side wins it by a landslide.
Okay, I see why they vetoed it. Brooks has no value.
Brooks really doesn't have any. They just signed Chuba Hubbard today to a $37 million extension.
$36 million?
Yeah.
Talking about Dr. Dan Ratner money with $36 million. I mean, that's
Tank
big
Dell
money.
and Brian Thomas Jr. are very good wide receivers and can produce for you. Brian Thomas Jr., by the way, is going to be catching passes from Mac Jones this week because Trevor Lawrence has been ruled out. But and Mike Evans is hurt. But
Mac Jones. I wonder whatever happened to Mac Jones. Now he's starting. It's unbelievable.
Now, Elias said, I agree that I win this trade, so he must have been, but I'm not the idiot that accepted it. So you offered it. You offered those three pieces for McCaffrey and Evans, and the guy accepted it. Like, to me, Mazel tov, good for you for making that proposal, even though it was a serious low ball, and the guy took it like that. I mean, now where it gets difficult, because we're in week 10, if that guy is 2-8 and doesn't care because it's a redraft league and he's like, I don't care, just take him, then it becomes a conversation. But my opinion, I've never vetoed a trade in my life. I was part of a league once where somebody who also does this show sometimes, who's not here right now,
Dr. Dan Ratner,
got a second year in baseball Mike Trout for Dustin Pedroia and Ian Desmond. That was about as one-sided of a trade as I've ever seen in my life. And it was a keeper league. So imagine how well that's paid him over the years versus the guy who traded him, Ian Desmond. For those of you who don't remember, he was a shortstop, a very good shortstop for the Washington Nationals for a while, then ended up in Colorado, I think. And Dustin Pedroia, Mighty Mouse from he was Jose Altuve before Jose Altuve.
He's actually from my part of town, but keep going. Went to high school right near my house, but keep going.
Nice, but very one-sided, and a lot of the league was in an uproar. And I certainly think my esteemed colleague won that trade. But again, the guy accepted it, and it wasn't collusion. It wasn't like he drugged him and used hypnosis, even though Dan is a master mental manipulator.
PhD, doctorate degrees from universities for psychology, genius mind. But yes, I feel why people vetoed it. I get it. McCaffrey, number 1 pick, number 1 draft. He's coming back this week. His value is at least up here now. But again, there's nothing you can do unless you have a league where people
and look, I don't. He also said down here, they said they would let it go through if he subbed in James Conner for Brian Thomas, and I can understand why they say that, because they want you to give up a bell cow running back to get a bell cow running back, and you didn't have to do that. I don't know what the veto rules are in your league. I don't know who the commissioner is in your league. If it's just a majority vote to veto,
it's usually, Casey, it's usually like 4 or 5 veto votes, and then the trade goes by.
I don't know. But
I don't know. It could be a different league. Who knows?
I'm not doing that trade if I'm giving up James Conner, though.
Me either.
I think that's too much you're paying then. All right.
No, I like Hunter.
Hey guys, need 2 flex worthy for a PPR league. Xavier Worthy, Chase Brown, Juwan Jennings, Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero. So you have the scraps of the San Francisco backfield. I think it's pretty clear to me that the 2 for me would be Chase Brown and Juwan Jennings. I don't know how you feel about it, Ross. I don't think
said. I agree.
I don't think Xavier Worthy is worth anything right now. And Mason and Guerrero,
he gets two catches a game for 30 yards. You know what I mean? It's like a waste.
Yeah. I think Xavier Worthy gets 3 to 4 touches. They manufacture runs for him. Mason and Guerrero are not going to be pass catchers for San Francisco at all with CMC back, unless CMC gets hurt. Mason will get some work in between the tackles, I think, just to ease CMC back in. I think Guerrero's an afterthought at this point. So I definitely
Guerrero will be watching the game from the sidelines. He'll be cheering the team on, but he won't be playing much.
He said he's the commissioner of his league and he wants to make a fair decision. That's very noble of you, and I appreciate that as somebody who's been a commissioner. But here I'm biased because it's my trade. You're right.
Yeah, we know.
It is your trade. You are biased, but look, at the end of the day,
go ahead.
You made the proposal. The kid had every right to say, "Are you kidding? That's not enough."
Like, so at the end of the day, do this. You know, if you really want,
I'll give you an example.
If you really want McCaffrey, you should restructure the deal and see if it goes through. That's the advice I give.
And look, part of being a good fantasy manager, and maybe this gets into the strategy part of the show, is knowing the other players in your league, knowing the other managers, so you know what kinds of trades they will and won't accept. Like, for example, I'm a New York sports fan. So if we're talking baseball and football, that's Yankees and Giants. So if somebody came at me with a Malik Neighbors offer, I'm going to probably overpay for Malik Neighbors just because I want Giants on my team. If somebody came to me with Juan Soto, although he might not be a Yankee in the next few weeks, let's say Aaron Judge, I know somebody who owns Aaron Judge on this show, I would probably overpay. If you are smart to know that this guy really likes Brian Thomas Jr. or Tank Dell, and you're just like, hey, I'll give you your favorite player and these 2 guys. I just want this injured wide receiver and a guy who's missed the first 9 weeks of the season.
Casey, look what I found. I just found this. I was going through my garage. I got
who signed it?
I got 3 signatures. I got Jerry Rice. Then I got Brett Favre over here. And then I got Kurt Warner right here. In gold. He signed it.
All right. We have a question from Crushing Doubt. Dr. Dan is asking a question.
What does he want?
He's checking in. How good is DeAndre Hopkins for the rest of the season? He looked like a wide receiver 1 last week and has Mahomes throwing to him.
Well, he's his favorite target now this week, but again, you can't trust Kansas City at all.
Well, I think DeAndre Hopkins is probably a top 20 wide receiver the rest of the season. I wouldn't put him in top 20. 10.
Wow, big words.
So he's not a wide receiver 1. He's probably somewhere wide receiver 2. He's a glorified tight end, in my opinion, at this point. He's not a run after the catch guy. He knows how to use his body in space to create passing windows for Patrick Mahomes. And nobody, he hasn't been a quarterback 1 for fantasy purposes, but I still say if he retired at the end of this year, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's that good. He can find him. And so having he and Travis Kelce on the field at the same time, 2 guys who play very similar, makes it very hard for defenses to scheme against either one. So
I agree. And I think, Casey, if you grew your hair out for like a couple years, you could have braids like DeAndre Hopkins.
I could try. All right, he said he agrees with pretty good for where. Okay, agreed with that. All right, Augusto Kashishian. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry. Running backs are Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, Chase Brown, J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, and Chubb. Wow,
that's a great. Receivers. Is there 2 people in your league? I mean,
I was going to say it's a 5-team league. Drake London, CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley. Well, his wide receivers are a little more struggling.
Oh, CeeDee Lamb's a top tier guy.
Juwan Jennings. Tight ends are Bowers and Hawkinson. I just did Hunt for Downs. Okay, so you went Kareem Hunt for Josh Downs. I don't think. Look, with who's the big, tall, skinny quarterback now in Indianapolis?
Joe Flacco.
Flacco. With Flacco as the quarterback, Josh Downs is much more valuable as long as they don't go back to Richardson. I'm a CeeDee Lamb owner in Dynasty. I don't like him for the rest of the season because they just announced today that
Cooper Rush.
That Cooper Rush is probably going to be the quarterback, he and Trey Lance, for the rest of the season,
right?
Because of an avulsion to the hamstring.
Well, it's not convenient for him. The Cowboys are losing, and all of a sudden,
well, if it's torn off the bone, though, that's not convenient. That still sucks.
I don't believe.
So I don't know how CeeDee Lamb's going to be. I like Drake London. He's dealing with a hip and a chest issue. Calvin Ridley, who knows what you're going to get, because if they put Mason Rudolph in versus Will. I'm doing terrible with names. Yeah, Will Arnett. Wouldn't that be funny? Who knows? I like Juwan Jennings, especially with Will Levis. That's what it is with Ayuk out for the rest of the season. But I do like adding Downs. I think that's smart. And Bowers is the number one. He and McBride are the 1 and 2 tight ends for the season.
You have so many great running backs. You should be trading one of your running backs like Hunt for a receiver.
Hey,
I think he could do better than Downs, though. I think he could get somebody better than Downs at that wide receiver position
for Hunt.
Yeah,
maybe.
Touchdown every week.
Real Tommy V's calling me out for calling Flacco a kid. Look, I'm also just about 50, and I think he's at least 10 years younger than me, so I can call him a kid if I want to.
Yeah. Well, you could definitely run faster than
Flacco. Yeah, but I was never a fighting blue hen. The University of Delaware.
Yeah, I got it.
Love it. So I don't think it's a bad trade, Augusto. I think you needed to upgrade wide receiver. I might have tried to maybe even like Hunt paired with Lamb or Ridley and see if you could have like shot the moon, or paired a couple of your running backs and tried to buy low on Jonathan Taylor, who I think right now you could get for a lot less than he's worth. Like put Hunt and Chubb together, or Hunt, Chubb, and something else. Who knows? To get Jonathan Taylor.
Now you're thinking.
You got what you needed, especially in a PPR league. Downs is that slot receiver is going to catch a lot of passes. So what are you? I'm going to go through a couple of the games. You tell me which ones you're going to. Okay. I'm going to give Ross's picks.
Great. Let's go.
The Ravens are 6-point favorites. You already picked the Bengals, so we don't have to go through
in the over. I love that game. I think we'll see the Bengals just go foot to the floor. And how they lost to the Ravens early in this season, I think it's a revenge factor also. And these Thursday games, they're so unpredictable, but I really feel the Bengals can win tonight. I have a good feeling. We'll see what happens. I could be totally wrong. Who knows? But
all right, the Giants are a 5-point favorite in Germany against the Carolina Panthers, 41.5 total.
Oh, talking about like a boring game, and who's going to even turn this on at 6 a.m. in California? I mean, it's going to be horrible. I'll take the Giants. I think Daniel Jones will have a big game. We talked about him on Tuesday as one of our waiver wire pickups. I feel that he'll take advantage of that weak Carolina defense. We'll see a big game from your boy Tracy also. I think he'll come out. He'll at least have one touchdown. And I see the possible rookie of the year, but I think it's going to be Daniels. I see Neighbors having a big game also. I think the Giants will win. I think they'll score a lot of points.
All right, this is a sneaky game for me. The Broncos against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 8, and it's in Kansas City with a 41.5 total.
Ooh, so that's good. If it was in Denver, I would say I'll take it in a second. 8 points is a lot, and anytime Kansas City's favored by more than 5 points, they never cover, just so you guys know. I'll take Denver in the 8 points. I think Nix is going to run the ball, is going to do whatever he can to try to win that game. And I think it could be Kansas City's first loss. That's a trap game I've ever seen one in my life.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Trap.
Yeah. And all right. How about this one? And I think this to me has upset written on it too. The Buffalo Bills are traveling to Indianapolis to play the Colts.
The Colts looked so bad last week, Casey. I mean, horrible. They really did. They couldn't get anything started. They were just bad. The Bills are on a mission. They're a hot team in the AFC. They're my pick to win the AFC right now. They're the team that I think is going to win the AFC. So I know you think it's going to be an upset. I think the Bills will run all over those guys and just smash them. Crush them.
The 6-2 Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Washington to play the 7-2 Commanders. The Commanders are a 2.5-point favorite, and it's a 46.
Yeah, that hook is bad. I like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh going against rookie quarterbacks is they're like 15-1 since Tomlin started. It's like a crazy stat. I know Washington's playing good football. I get it. People love Washington and they like what they're doing. I just think TJ Watt's going to be in his face so much, and TJ Watt's going to go off. He's going to have a huge game. And Russell Wilson's been pretty good, Casey. Don't you think? I mean, he
has been. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Washington's defense with Marshawn Lattimore now, their primary cornerback, who will probably shadow George Pickens all over the place, and whether Mike Williams is even fully integrated yet.
I see Pittsburgh winning that game. I see them winning it, and I see a big game from Russell Wilson.
All right, last game we're going to talk about is a trap game for Minnesota, but I also think it's potentially just a gigantic blowout. The Vikings are traveling to Jacksonville to face on Sunday Night Football. Oh no, that's Monday night, I think. To face Mac Jones and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
God, can you imagine buying tickets for that game, thinking you're seeing Trevor Lawrence, and then you're stuck with Crimson Tide quarterback Mac Jones, who's horrible disappointment. I'm anything starting Mac Jones, I bet against. So there you go. It's that easy. I mean, Mac Jones is horrible. You saw him last year play, and he's a dirty player too.
Derek Buck, I love all these questions because they're good ones. Thoughts on Stroud for the rest of the year? I currently have him on my bench and think of dropping him for a depth piece. My current QB is Sam Darnold. Should I hold Stroud? It's a single quarterback league.
How many teams are in the league? There are other quarterbacks, just in case if Darnold goes down, you're still okay, right?
And
you can get some.
Look, I think I understand what you're saying.
Go ahead,
especially with Nico Collins out. But I think once Collins comes back next week, if he's not back this week, I'm pretty sure it'll be next. CJ Stroud for the rest of the year remember how he the end of last year when it kind of took off for him, he was like a top 5 quarterback the end of the season. I would rather try to, I might hold for a week, and then when Collins comes back, try to trade one of them to somebody who's stuck with a Patrick Mahomes, or like these big names where Dak Prescott. There are people out there who are going to be scrambling for quarterbacks. I think I'd try to trade him instead of drop him if I could.
I agree exactly what you said about Collins coming back. I think Stroud will be a whole different quarterback as soon as that happens.
It's a 12-team league.
Yeah, keep him.
Yeah, I mean, I would keep if right now. I don't know what depth pieces are available, but it would have to be a pretty spectacular one for me to drop CJ Stroud.
Stroud is so good with Collins. It's always like a big bomb in the first quarter for 60 yards to take the lead. I mean, it's like they're so good together. You don't want to lose that magic. Just keep Stroud.
I know he's laid a dud the past couple weeks, but I think that's because Collins is out. Once Collins comes back, between him and Tank Dell, Joe Mixon, don't underestimate the impact he has on that offense too. Has helped CJ Stroud tremendously. I think maybe I'm burned by watching Darnold in New York for too long, and then in San Francisco for a year whenever he was there. Like, he's been good. He has. I like CJ Stroud better. That's just me. All right, Ross, anything we didn't cover today that you think is important?
Again, we're this is the middle of the season, more past the middle of the season. There's going to be some
run,
and you got to make sure you check your lineups. You got to make sure you're not starting a player that has the week off. People make a lot of mistakes right now with lineups, and you got to, we all know that T. Higgins is not playing tonight, so make sure you don't have him in your lineup. And when you wake up on Sunday,
look in Yahoo leagues this morning when I looked, Mike Gesicki was only 33% owned.
What's he
like
now?
Even I don't know, but even if
I thought you had a big. I thought his stats went up tremendously. It's unbelievable.
If he's on the waiver wire, even if you don't need him, say you have I don't know, George Kittle going this weekend, or you have Cade Otton going this weekend, like pick him up so your opponent can't. Like play defense.
I like that defense.
There's plenty of people at the end of your bench who you can drop that you can pick up again on Wednesday of next week.
Yeah, especially wide receivers that don't
part
play.
of fantasy strategy is looking at who you're playing and preventing them from getting the guy that could beat you. So that would be my last piece of advice for today.
I agree. That's great advice. And I think the trade deadline's coming up for a lot of leagues too. So if you want to make trades like the ones we talked about today, make sure you make them sooner than later. But hopefully your team is stacked and ready to roll. But there you go.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy tonight's game. I think for a change, it's going to be a Thursday night game. That's an absolute barn burner. We're used to watching some pretty bad ones, so I'm excited for that. Hopefully we get another a game that has all these fantasy stats. If you're a betting man, you can bet overs on a lot of things, I think, tonight. Hopefully for your sake, Ross, I hope it's a Bengals victory and the Houday Nation is very, very happy. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing everybody again on Tuesday for our waiver wire show, 4:00 Eastern, 1:00 Pacific. Ross and I will be at it again. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments on these videos. We check them all the time so that we can keep communicating with you guys. Ross, thanks again for the knowledge. I'll see you on Tuesday.